Hey friends, my name is Ethan. This story is from the time I was in community college. I was about 21 years old. That same year, on March 8th, my uncle was getting married, so my whole family went to his house in Austin, Texas for the wedding. The house was packed with relatives and guests. Among them was my cousin-in-law, Julia. She was the wife of my mom's distant nephew. Julia was beautiful, her skin fair, her eyes light. She looked around 29 or 30. She had this calm elegance in the way she spoke. That day, she was chatting with my mom while I stood nearby. I kept smiling awkwardly while looking at her, and eventually, she noticed and smiled back. She turned to my mom and asked, "Who's he?" Mom laughed and introduced me. When Julia realized I was technically her little brother-in-law, she started teasing me playfully, right in front of my mom. I just blushed and looked down. Then Mom got called away by one of her sisters. Before leaving, she said, "You two talk. I'll be back." And suddenly, I was standing there with Julia alone. I was nervous, not knowing what to say. Julia broke the silence. "So, Ethan, what grade are you in?" I said softly. "I'm in community college. Finals are coming up." She smiled. "Oh wow, so you're all grown up now. Sophomore, huh?" I nodded, still nervous. She kept looking at me as if she wanted to say something but decided instead to lighten the mood. "And how's school going?" I said. "It's okay, a little stressful with exams coming." She laughed. "Stress? You look too smart to be stressed." I blushed again. But her tone was so warm and familiar, it slowly started melting away my awkwardness. Then she gently patted my arm and said, "So tell me, got a girlfriend or what?" I was stunned. No, Julia, nothing like that." She burst out laughing. "Wow, such a bad liar. With that cute smile? I should tell your mom." "No, please don't," I said quickly, panicking. We both laughed. Then she leaned a little closer and whispered, "By the way, you have really beautiful eyes, you know that?" I froze. There was a weight to her voice that made my chest tighten. Her eyes said something different, something more. But before I could say anything, she softly said, "Okay, I'd better go. Lots to do. But I'll catch you later." She smiled and walked away, leaving me standing there, heart pounding with something I'd never felt before. After that, every time Julia saw me, there would be light banter, gentle jokes, and warm little exchanges. That evening, I sat alone on a lawn chair at the edge of the yard. The sun was setting, and there was a pleasant breeze. The wedding preparations were in full swing. Suddenly Julia appeared and sat next to me. She fixed her shawl and asked, "How long until your finals?" 2 months, I replied. "As soon as I get home, it'll be back to the grind." She smiled. "No stress. Just enjoy the wedding. Once you're home, give it your best shot. Everything will be fine." We chatted about random things. Then I casually asked her about her husband, my cousin. I didn't know him much. She paused, then said, "He's not here. He lives in Los Angeles. Couldn't get time off work." I laughed and said, "Oh, LA. I bet he took you around Hollywood beaches parties?" I was joking. But her face suddenly changed. The sparkle in her eyes disappeared. That glow she had froze in place, and a strange silence fell between us. I got confused. Had I said something wrong? She looked away, forced a smile, and said, "Yeah, he showed me a lot." Then she quickly glanced around. "I should go. Still have stuff to do." And she left. But her face, her expression, stayed with me. Something had shifted. A heaviness settled in my chest. Later that night, after dinner, we all headed to the roof to sleep under the stars. It was a clear, breezy night. Everyone laid out their mattresses. I fell asleep between some cousins. Around midnight I heard soft footsteps and the faint jingle of bangles. A woman was approaching. I didn't look. I just pulled the blanket over me. Then someone gently shook me. I opened my eyes. Julia. Hey, my phone's not working. Can you check it? She asked. Her phone was in airplane mode. I turned it off, and it worked fine again. Thanks, Ethan, she said quietly, locking eyes with me. As I was about to lie down again, she whispered, Actually, I need to go to the restroom, but it's dark downstairs. I'm scared. Will you come with me? I was stunned for a second but then quickly nodded. Sure. I put on my sandals and walked her downstairs. It was silent and dark, but she stayed close to me. Once we reached the bathroom, I waited outside. While she was inside, my mind kept returning to her expression when I had brought up Los Angeles. That silence. That sadness. When she came out, she smiled faintly. Thanks. I really didn't want to go alone. I smiled back. It's all right. I'm here. Back on the rooftop, everyone was asleep. I went to lie on my mattress, but someone had rolled into my spot. As I bent down to wake them, Julia whispered, Ethan, wait. Don't wake them. Come sleep by me. There's space. I hesitated. My heart raced. But I nodded. She had her mattress set in a quiet corner. The breeze was stronger there. It felt oddly cut off from the rest of the roof. We both lay down quietly. The stars were bright overhead. My mind was full of questions, but my lips stayed shut. Then she whispered, I'm glad you came with me tonight. I replied, Me too, Julia. We were silent again. My eyes were closed, but sleep wouldn't come. Finally, I whispered, Are you awake? After a pause, she said, Yes, Ethan. What's wrong? I wanted to ask. When I brought up LA earlier, you went quiet. I felt like I said something wrong. Did I? There was a long pause. Then she whispered, Everything's fine. Don't think too much. But her voice didn't carry conviction. I turned away, but my mind stayed restless. Then I heard it, a quiet, broken sob. I turned and saw her looking at the stars. Tears streamed down her cheeks, lit by moonlight. I asked gently, Julia, what's wrong? She quickly wiped her tears, embarrassed. Nothing. Just cold air. It's nothing. But I knew it wasn't. I gently said, Please, don't hide it. I swear I won't judge. You have my word. She looked at me for a long moment, then finally began speaking. Ethan, your cousin doesn't work for any company in LA. He's not what everyone thinks he is. She went on to reveal a truth I hadn't imagined. Her husband, my cousin, wasn't a professional. He ran private tours for foreign visitors, mostly women. Sometimes he became more than just a guide to them. She had once caught him with a tourist on the beach. The betrayal crushed her. She had confronted him, but he called it part of the job. There was no guilt. No apology. Just excuses. I left, she said quietly. He didn't even call me. Not once. Her voice was raw, but her eyes weren't crying anymore. They were just tired. I held her trembling hand. There wasn't much I could do. I couldn't fix her pain. I couldn't change the past. But I could be there. Sometimes, just being there is enough. And that night, under the stars, I just stayed, silent, listening, present. That night changed something in me. After Julia opened up to me like that, I couldn't see her the same way anymore. Not in the way people usually mean when they say that. This wasn't infatuation or some teenage fantasy. It was deeper. Respect. Empathy. A strange kind of bond formed through shared silence and truths whispered in the dark. The next morning, things went back to normal, or at least they looked like they did. The house was buzzing again with wedding preparations. Laughter, music, people moving in and out. But whenever I caught Julia's eye across the room, there was a softness. A shared understanding. A quiet acknowledgement of the night we had shared, not in the physical sense, but in the emotional weight of it. That evening, the wedding took place in full swing. The bride and groom exchanged vows. Everyone danced. I stood near the refreshment table, holding a soda, watching the crowd. Julia came up beside me. She was wearing a soft blue dress. Her hair was tied back, and a small diamond chain glinted around her neck. "You didn't dance," she said, sipping her drink. "I don't dance," I said with a smile. "You should learn," she teased. "You'll have to at your own wedding." I raised an eyebrow. "That assumes I'll even get married." She chuckled but didn't say anything. Then, after a moment of silence, she said quietly, "Thanks for last night." I didn't answer right away. Just nodded and said, "You didn't deserve any of that. I hope you know that." Her eyes flickered. "I know. I just, sometimes need to be reminded." That night, after everything wound down, we all went to sleep early. But I couldn't sleep. Around 1 a.m., I stepped down from the roof to grab some water. As I came back up, I found Julia sitting at the edge of her mattress, legs tucked in, her gaze lost in the night sky again. I walked over. "Couldn't sleep?" I asked. She shook her head, then patted the empty space beside her. I sat. There was silence for a few minutes. Then she said, "You know, sometimes I think, what if I had never gotten married? What if I had said no that day?" I stayed quiet. "Everyone thinks marriage is supposed to be a beginning," she said. "For me, it felt like an ending. Like a part of me got locked away." I looked at her. The way her fingers twisted her ring around her finger. The way she bit her lower lip gently. The way her eyes had grown older than her age. "I'm scared, Ethan," she whispered, "that I'll never be able to feel anything real again." I didn't know what to say. I wasn't qualified to give her advice on marriage or heartbreak. So I did the only thing I could. I placed my hand gently over hers. She didn't pull away. "It's not about fixing you," I said. "Some people don't need to be fixed. They just need someone to sit with them while the storm passes." She smiled sadly, eyes glistening. "You talk like someone much older." I shrugged. "Maybe it's just the insomnia." That night, we didn't say much else. She laid down, and I went back to my spot, though sleep still didn't come. The next day, it was time for us to leave. My dad had loaded the bags into the car. Everyone was saying goodbye. I found Julia in the backyard, folding clothes on a string line. "I guess this is goodbye," I said. She looked up, smiled softly. "Guess so." I paused. "Take care of yourself, Julia." "You too, Ethan." Then she did something I didn't expect. She stepped forward, gave me a warm, brief hug, and whispered, "Thank you, for being the only real thing I've felt in a long time." And just like that I left. That chapter didn't end with a kiss or a confession. It ended with a hug, a truth, and the kind of silence that only comes after two people have finally been heard. Even now, years later, I sometimes wonder how she's doing. Whether she ever found peace. Whether she's smiling for real now and not just for the world. All I know is, some stories don't need a dramatic twist. Sometimes, the real drama lies in what's never said, what's simply felt. And sometimes, being there for someone, really being there, is more powerful than anything else in the world. It had been 6 years since that wedding in Austin. I had moved on in most ways. Finished college. Got a decent job in Chicago working in a mid-sized tech firm. Life had fallen into that familiar rhythm: early coffee, deadlines, weekend errands, the occasional dates that led nowhere. Everything was fine. Except sometimes, in the quiet between two songs on a late-night playlist, I'd think about Julia. I never reached out. Neither did she. There was no real reason to. We weren't technically connected anymore. But some memories don't fade. They just go dormant, like embers under ash. Then one Thursday, I got a call from Mom. We hadn't talked in a week or two. "Do you remember Julia?" she asked casually. I nearly dropped my mug. "Yeah, of course. Why?" "She's back in town. Visiting her folks in Dallas. I ran into her at a wedding last week. She asked about you." That was all Mom said. I didn't sleep much that night. 2 weeks later, I found myself in Dallas for work. I told myself I wouldn't reach out. That it was coincidence. That I was too old for this kind of sentimental detour. But then I saw her. At a bookstore cafe. It was unplanned, or maybe fate was pulling strings again. She was sitting by the window, flipping through a book, her latte untouched beside her. She hadn't changed much. A little leaner maybe. More composed. But her presence, it still wrapped the room in stillness. I froze in the doorway. And then she looked up. Our eyes met. There was a moment, half a breath, where time stalled. Then, slowly, she smiled. Ethan? I walked over. Hey, Julia. We sat. Neither of us asked why the other was there. It didn't matter. What mattered was that we were there now. You look good, she said. You too, I replied. Still reading poetry? She laughed. Not as much. Life got in the way. We talked. About jobs. Family. Safe topics. But under the surface, something was shifting. Finally, she said, You know, I think about that night. On the roof. A lot. I nodded. Me too. Her fingers traced the edge of her coffee cup. You were the only person who didn't try to explain my pain away. Or tell me how to fix it. You just sat with it. Sometimes that's all anyone needs, I said. She looked out the window. I left for good. Never went back. I started over. Got into social work. Help women who've gone through things like I did. I smiled. That's incredible. She shrugged. Maybe. Or maybe it's just my way of healing. There was a long pause. Then she asked, Are you happy? The question hit harder than I expected. I don't know, I said honestly. Some days, yes. Some days I feel like I'm just getting through. She nodded. Yeah. Same. We sat in silence for a while. Comfortable, familiar. No expectations. No unspoken desires. Just two people remembering a version of themselves they had once shared. When it was time to leave, she walked me to the door. I'm glad we met again, she said. Me too. She hesitated. Then pulled something from her bag, a folded piece of paper. This is a number, she said. Not mine. It's a shelter. If you ever meet someone who needs help, the kind I once needed, give them this. I took it. I will. We hugged. Not tight. Not romantic. Just long enough. And then we walked away in opposite directions. That night I didn't feel sad. Or empty. I just felt grateful. Because some people enter your life like fire, bright, wild, and temporary. But others, like Julia, they're like winter sunlight. Soft. Quiet. But unforgettable. Subscribe for more human stories that stay with you. Thank you.